Finally, we did it.
Finally.
That's good.
Hey everybody, Koricon here, and I am joined today by Raju Singh. Say hello, sir. Thank you for joining with us.
Hello, Matt, and hello, everybody. Hi. Thank you for having me here.
You are a singer, musician, composer, music director, music arranger. I mean, you do a lot of things, and most notably, I think many people might know you from like many background scores, theme scores for movies and TV shows. But you also do albums. I mean, you're all over the place. You seem like a very busy person.
I like to keep myself busy, and I take up any work which is connected with music. I just like to be connected with music. That's the thing.
Now, I recently saw the short film that you worked on, Raakh. Is that how it's pronounced? Raakh?
Right.
That came out last year, correct?
Right.
And that was a great short film. Oh my gosh, it was... I had posted it on Twitter saying, like, this is the perfect example of what a short film should be. You know, has a good twist in it, but it's like, you think the story's going one way, then it changes, goes to something else, but has a it's very tight. Everything's really tight in there. But what I liked about your music was during the moments when you needed it elevated, the music was a little louder, a little bit more aggressive. But as the dialogue came in, you know, you had a lot of it kind of subdue, like go down, not try to take over. I've seen a lot of background music that'll either take over the dialogue or it feels like it's fighting with the dialogue, but it was a very good flow. When you do background scores, are you writing a lot of that music ahead of time and then keeping in mind notes of where you might be able to dip the volume, or are you like making all of those decisions in post, like after you've gotten footage?
Yes, it's actually in post only after watching the shot and edited material, and that gives you the feel of how to design it. Basically, it's kind of a sound design, and you've got to understand which dialogues have been said, how they have been said, and what should be the effect of which dialogue. And it's like you see the whole thing, you get a tempo of the whole film, and then you need to make your markers as to which dialogues need to be underlined with the music and which need to be left alone. You know, so it's a part of the whole sound design, which is also to understand what is being said where and why. And these markers, where should the markers be and all that, come out after having a discussion with the director also, because the director's been living the script right from beginning. He's spent a lot of more time and spent his energies more on right from the beginning of the conceptualization. So that becomes a great help because he is visualizing something which is going to be the final product right from beginning. So you need to be in sync with the director's vision and then see how, with those bindings around you, how you can actually elevate the whole product.
So when you talk with a director, are you looking for more emotional aspects? Are you saying like what are the characters feeling at this moment, or is it more than just emotional context of that scene that you're looking for when you start to write the music?
See, most of it, because the language is understood, so you get it on your own, but it's important to share the same idea, what I have thought about it with the director, just to clear out and be on the same page that possibly the director had thought about it in a different way. Sometimes he knows that he's got this particular dialogue said in a certain way, which is much in a lower level of volume and everything. So to retrieve and keep the value of that style of actors speaking, you need to understand how low to go or how he said it. So which range of music would not interfere into it. And you need to work out on all those things. That's why I call it more of a sound design rather than just doing a background score.
Right.
Because it's also got to do with which other effects are going to be there. Possibly in this particular film, if he's kept the gun on the table.
So do you work really close with the Foley artists as well then for the sound effects, like you were saying with the gun on the table?
Yes, because there are certain times when the gun has been kept on the table. There's a certain sound he's going to be putting there. Probably he's keeping it in anger, so that sound needs to give out that he's slammed it onto the table. And if I'm also going to give a musical effect, kind of run. So what we do is I work in sync with the Foley, the effects guy, and take a rough effects track so that I know where he's put on which frame he's put the thing, and I make sure that it's my sound and his sound are a little away from, like, a few frames away, so that they just don't bite into each other. And I mean, rather than having the effect of nothing working out, it's better to have both, but with a little split difference of some frames.
Now, I've seen, I don't know if you've seen any of these trailers, but in the past couple of years, in the United States at least, for a lot of movie trailers, it's been kind of popular to sync up things that happened in the trailer with the beats of the music. So like you might have an action movie like for the Netflix show Punisher, and synced with Metallica's One, and whenever the drums were hitting, they were firing the bullets. Do you do things like that where you might time where you're using the music almost as the Foley instead of having actual Foley sound, or vice versa, using Foley in your music?
See, actually, it all depends from scene to scene. Sometimes when there's a lot of gunfire or some kind of a scene where there's a lot of interaction of Foley, fight sounds, or like the hits or something like this, that helps me telling me the sounds which have been used are in certain frequency, and so I can use my kind of a rhythm track or whatever. The rhythm track is normally to keep the pace up and keep that adrenaline feel on, rather than getting into a mixture of sounds in this thing. So I have to choose my sound, the rhythm sounds, also to the a little contrast to the sound effects which have been used, like gun sounds and all that. And even I send my rough track to the Foley guy, so in case he needs to tweak something out. That's where. And sometimes maybe not a gunshot, but some other features what the Foley's put in, I ask them to pitch it up a little so that it matches within the musical background.
Right. Okay, I could see that. Yeah, that would be interesting. That keep the pitch of the Foley to match with the music, or vice versa. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I never really thought about that, but it makes a lot of sense. For background music, do you write any of the music ahead of time, or at least have an idea of what you might want to do, or do you wait for getting the footage before you write anything for background?
Matt, it depends on project to project. Sometimes there are certain parts in the film which the director is quite sure of, and he wants to shoot it with the music there, so that everything is in is like in sync for each other. Like I'm doing a film called Kesari now.
Is that the one that you just finished?
No, that's going to start, but I just done a few parts before the shoot. And for that reason, we had a certain climax planned in, how it's coming in without dialogues. And then there were certain areas where there's kind of a whole army walks in, a tribal kind of an army walks in. And we wanted certain kind of a drums too, because you just hear them hear the drums playing, and you know they are coming in. So those kind of things. And while they're coming in, there are certain guys sitting on the drums, and like the whole tribal drums kind of thing. So we needed to record that first, so that they could shoot the hand movements and something like this. Probably we might change the whole thing while we're doing the score, but it gives an idea for the edit and everything to be in one certain tempo. So certain parts like this are shot before.
So do you enjoy like working really close with the director and that whole process of the filmmaking process of the background? You enjoy that whole process?
Very much. It's a learning process all the way, because you're working with another mind onto the same project who's got a vision as to his vision, visualize his film to be at in his vision, and I think it's very, very important to be on the same page with the director, because you kind of given an outline and you're coloring it, and it's such a thing that if you, me, or 4 people are sitting there, everybody's given the same sketch, the same colors, yet it's going to be looking different. So
I think you said that at Berkeley, didn't you?
Right.
Given a sketch, given 3 similar crayons. Yeah, right. That was pretty cool. Because you were invited to speak at Berkeley last year, right?
Right.
Was
that was for the film scoring students, and we did 2 master classes there. Yes.
So they brought you over to the U.S. for a master class last year?
Yes, and there were 2 master classes. So what I'd done was I'd taken clippings of my films, and I was explaining why I did certain things, and where did I get the idea to do that. And then there were questions from the students, who were from the film scoring students. And what was good was they were the last year students, so they had worked on their projects. And then I was showing them certain parts which didn't have any dialogues, but the story needed to continue and convey something. So visual was doing that, but the music had to speak certain things into coming into that form. So like these kind of ideas I had taken there with some clippings and all that. So it was a nice interaction between the students and me.
That's great. Yeah, I thought it was really cool when I saw that you were brought over to Berkeley for that. I also noticed that, not only did you do movies and TVs for both background music and title tracks, do you prefer background music, or do you prefer like title and like main songs that you do on your own, or is it more of just, whatever you're in the mood for at the moment?
Matt, here in India, it's like possibly I see it that way. Like I've been a guitarist right from beginnings. When I started, I was a guitarist, a session musician, and I used to play the acoustic guitar, the rhythm guitar, and then it came into playing the 12th string also, and then I started playing the bass and the electric. So what happened was I think I've got it genetically, because my dad's played so many instruments with so many legendary music directors. And he kept on switching. He took up one instrument, mastered it, became the best within the whole industry, and he just left it, went to another instrument. So he kept on doing that. So I guess I also got into the thing of having a more multi-purpose scenario rather than just doing one thing. And the same thing, I guess, reflected into me getting projects. I did television, if it was title tracks, or if it's just theme music, or the background score for this thing. Sometimes I got into ads, then films started off, film songs started off, then there were albums in between happening. So as the trend changes and whichever projects I get, I'm quite adjustable to everything. And I've been doing scores for a long time. Now I've just got the itch to start doing songs again. so, so it's enjoyable. You know, it doesn't. The moment you feel the monotony, you switch over to something, and it's all within the music. So it keeps going.
I tend to do that also, but I don't end up mastering something. I get really interested in something, and then I will like study it until I feel like I'm done, and then I'll move on and study something else. So I like to say I know a little bit of everything, but I don't know a lot about one thing. But it seems like you would study it until you've mastered it. I just study it until I'm like, okay, I think I know enough. I don't go quite to your level, but so your father was a musician, and that's what got you into all this. You were raised in music. Was it just a natural kind of progression that you would end up doing like albums and background music, or was it a surprise to you when someone asked for you to work with them on it?
No, I think, see, I belong to a family. My dad, the brothers and all that, we have musical instrument shops, a chain of musical instrument shops called Sardar Flute and Chet Singh Gurbakhshi and Singh Musicals. And probably my dad also had a shop, and instead of selling, he got into playing it. And so that's what he carried on. Even in my, after my studies, my mom got me a shop so that she wanted me to get set with some business and everything. So I sat there for 2 years in the shop, and I did the same thing what my dad did. But you know what? What I feel is a lot of people told me 2 years before you should have started. But those 2 years, sitting in that shop, musical instrument shop, I was sitting there. Whether the clients came in to buy or not was a different aspect of the business altogether. But a lot of times sitting there, what do you do? Then I used to pick up another instrument, start playing that, pick up a veena, trying to playing that, pick up a duffly, a percussion, different melodic instruments, and playing that. What happened was I actually felt it was a God-given 2 years' time of grooming and knowing how different instruments are played, you know. And at that time, the samplers and everything were not out. So I believe it was like a blessing that if you know, then when you get the samples, you know how that instrument is played, and you can actually sound real into that.
Yeah, I truly believe that a lot of times just playing around, whether it be playing music or, you know, playing like the kids do, how they just play. They find something and they just play around with it until they figure it out. That sometimes that is a much better teacher than going to a university classroom structure. Just play with it. Just figure it out. You know, a lot of times for me, it was with computers. Half the stuff I know about computers and electronics was me just playing with it until it worked or it didn't work. But that would be a great college for you, owning a music shop. You're in it all day. What else are you going to do? You just play around with all the stuff. So the common thing between a school and this is that you just put into that environment. Now it's up to you whether you take advantage of it. Right. Yeah. That's a great schooling, I got to say. Now, some of my fans may know your music from Half Girlfriend, because that came out somewhat recently. I didn't get to see the movie because it didn't show out here for very long. But it seemed like, from the trailers, like a very kind of comfortable family film. Was it a good shoot? Was it a good flow on the music side? Like, how did that come about? See, Half Girlfriend I think it was a very cute love story, which gave a feeling at no point whether this culmination of this relationship would come to a good end or no. You know, it was like, so we had to keep in mind that at no point we need to give out that this would form into a full.
So there was always a hint. There were always a large moments of it just going to culminate, and it never happened. So, that film had that thing. So it was a task to actually keep it interesting enough, and when it doesn't happen, not to just let it go. So you start feeling bad for the characters,
right?
And
yeah. So the music never quite paid off, but just come back again. It's like a teasing through the whole movie. That would be.
But when the culmination, when it shows that it's going to culminate, you got to be convincing enough to, yes, this is the time, but
right. Yeah, that would be interesting. So what projects are you currently working on? You said you were working on a series right now?
Kesari is another film which is being shot right now with Akshay Kumar, and the director is Anurag Singh, and Akshay Kumar is playing a role of Sardar. There were these. It's about a story about Saragar. That there was this time when there were these within the British rule. There was this post within the kind of a valley, and the Afghans were on the other side. So there was this battle which these 16 Sardars. You know what Sardars are, right? The Sikh.
Yes.
Sikh.
Yeah.
So these 16 Sikh men actually fought this battle with almost around 900 or 1,000 Afghans in front. The battle lasted only for a few hours, but just 16 people holding it on was the heroic moment.
Wow.
So the film is about that, and Akshay Kumar is, it's like a periodic film, like it's 100 years back or something. So he's worn this traditional turban, which is like a huge thing, and he's really worked hard on doing that thing. Right.
So this was early 1900s then, is what you're...
Right.
Yeah.
Probably before that, but what I'm saying is even the music, we'll have to make sure that it's a tilt between sounding periodic and still making it interesting today. So recently I've just done this film, the score for a film called Harjeeta. It's a Punjabi film, and it's a biography about this gentleman called Harjeeta from Punjab, and he's a hockey player, and he's won the World Cup in hockey for India. And his background, so it's his story, and it's doing pretty well right now. So it's called Harjeeta, so you catch up on the trailer also, you'll get an idea on the thing. So that was his childhood he was really pure, from a very poor family, and he wanted to he used to be good in kabaddi, which is an Indian wrestling game. And so he used to, whenever he used to win in that, he used to get these, they used to gift him steel glasses or steel plates or something like this. And he would wear a very traditional cotton pants kind of thing, which is more with a string attached to it and all that. That was the scenario he was in. So he saw these school children playing hockey there, and they would get gifts, probably like elastic pants and t-shirt and everything. So for the want of those clothes, he went and approached the coach that I also want to play. And he became good in that and everything, and he actually, got where he is today. So that's the story about him.
So his main motivation was he wanted some free clothes, and then he ended up becoming like the greatest
hockey player in India. Yeah,
that is a very interesting story. I gotta say, I've not heard. You have a lot of stories of people that get into sports because of like a single motivation, something like they were poor and it was the only way that they could get free tuition somewhere, or something like that. But to be like, I want that T-shirt, so I'm gonna go play this game and just take it over.
I mean, see, that's what when we deal with children, you don't know what's their main strength.
Yeah.
Like how every individual kid has his own main strength, which it takes a little while to actually figure it out what it is. So I guess the T-shirt was a way of getting into that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I'll have to look for the trailer for that one, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, just check it.
And it's a Punjabi movie, you said, right?
Punjabi movie, and here there was one good thing. I had to create one theme which would always, for this particular character, come out and actually always, and he was such a simple boy, like very soft spoken, didn't have money, so he was taking help of another girl to write a letter to another girl. And she said, I'll write, I'm sending you a bouquet. So he was like, how much does a bouquet cost? And she says, well, I mean, $10 or something. So it said, no, I don't have that much money, so cut that out. So such a simple person. So I had to create a theme carrying his simplicity. And at the same time, always feeling so, I wouldn't say sad, but every viewer should feel that he should do well. He should do well. So those aspects were taken into. So for that, I initially went through the interviews of the original Harjeeta and just understood how he spoke,
so
what was his tempo.
Yeah, so you wanted the viewer to feel sympathetic but not feel sorry.
Yes. And always want that, even if it's not sympathy, but yeah, sometimes you like the person and say he deserved it. Like that feeling should come out. So and the actor Ammy Virk, he has groomed himself. The director's got him to groom himself into losing weight and actually fitting that character. So if you catch up on this trailer, catch up on some other thing on the YouTube which shows what Ammy Virk actually in normal life looks like and what he's done for this film.
Yeah.
So it's passion all over. This film has everybody's trying to do so it's a good
It sounds exciting, and I like I love the story of just wanting a T-shirt and then becoming the greatest. Like it's simple but impactful. It's great. I love that. Do you also do some live shows from time to time? Do you enjoy doing music live for an audience, or is it more of like, I just want to write it and you can listen to it later?
Actually, that's one thing I feel within everything I do. I have played as a guitarist, like I told you earlier, so I used to travel with, and I've been traveled with R.D. Burman, if you've heard of R.D. Burman. You've heard of R.D. Burman? That's one of the composers India is really proud.
Yeah.
R.D. Burman. And we used to call him Panchamda. So I have played with him, traveled with him, traveled with Anand Milan, so various music directors as a guitarist, and went for live shows. And that's a different feeling altogether to, whatever songs we used to record in the studio and later on actually go and perform there and see the reaction immediately, So that's a kick. And that's one zone I need to push myself into.
Yeah. You'd like to do more live stuff?
Yes. That's why I'm getting into more songs now rather than, because scores is something you've done and it's only for a person to go and when they watch the film, they get it. So I want to get into songs. I mean, on and off, I keep doing songs for films also, but now I guess I want to tilt a little more towards the songs.
Well, and you could always do what, like, Hans Zimmer and some of those guys, they'll do a tour where they'll just play their music,
Right.
You'll have the Star Wars, they'll play all of the Star Wars music for John, oh my gosh. I forgot his name. My fans are going to kill me. Anyway, it's 12:30 in the morning where I am, so give me a little break, guys. But John Williams, there we go. See, I got it.
Oh, you're talking about John Williams. Okay.
So John Williams, Hans Zimmer, they'll do things where they'll play like the music from Star Wars or Hobbit or Lord of the Rings in a concert. Have you ever thought of doing that for some of your big film scores, or just do songs?
Would love to. Unfortunately, in India, the scoring, the background score is still gaining that importance separately from the film. I mean, RD Open has done a few background scores which have been like, you just play the theme and this is this film, So probably it's going to take some time for us to be able to do that.
Yeah, because background music is extremely important. And there's been a few movies reviews that I've done where I point out to people, this movie did not have a background score. It had the theme music played 23 different times. But it didn't have background music. It just had the same song played over and over again.
Over and over again.
But a lot of my fans, they like to point out background music. They're like, did you hear the background music on this? Or did you hear it on this? So I think it's something that is going to be gaining a lot more steam, because not only the movies are getting more expensive and bigger, and it's getting a lot more attention on the world theater, but people like me and other reviewers, we're going to point out when the music in the background is just the same theme song repeated over and over again. So that background music, I think, is going to get a huge push, in the next 5 to 10 years. I think we'll see a lot more importance laid on background music. So I hope you get a lot more work in the coming future that we can talk about.
Yeah, definitely. I hope so. And in our Indian films, actually every film is a musical. So it's songs in between. So, and most of the films get introduced to the audience via songs.
Mm-hmm.
So their relatability to the film with the songs is really strong for any other background score to actually match up to that, because there are no lyrics in it. People like the musicals, they can sing the songs. So it's going to take a little while for the background score to actually be heard separately.
Yeah, that's true. There are some trailers where you can hear good background music, that they don't just have a theme song play through the whole trailer.
Right.
That just to be able to set some of the tone of what's going on, as long as it's a trailer. A teaser, a short teaser may just have a theme song, but I've heard some really good background music in some longer length, like 2-minute, 2.5-minute movie trailers. So I think it's something that will gain a lot more speed, a lot more importance in the future. Well, I really appreciate you sitting down and talking with me. This has been great. Also would like to thank Vikram Tooley, the co-writer of the Amazon Breathe show, the Amazon Prime show Breathe. He's the one that, he's a huge fan of yours, and he's
a great guy. Yeah. He's a great guy.
He is.
He's so talented. So talented.
So I want to thank him for suggesting me to contact you, and thank you for sitting down and spending the time because I know you're busy. You had just finished a score and you're moving on to some other stuff. It's like probably getting a moment to have you just sit still is a little difficult. So I really appreciate it.
It's great. Thank you very much for having me. Thanks to Vikram too. And thanks, Matt. All I'd like to say is I think it's so important to just keep the thing rolling, keep doing something. Like, can I just take a moment to explain to you what my dad had done?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. In 1984, my dad had done an album as a one-man show, one-man musician. His album was called Ragas in Disco Beat. He used a Jupiter 8 and an 808 and a bassline TR-606 and everything, and he did that. And it got released, the record sold out that time, and it did okay. I mean, it was like one of the albums released. But Matt, unfortunately, my dad expired 2 years back, but 4 years prior to his demise, there was this German gentleman who came, who was in India, and he happened to find this record in a place called Chor Bazaar here, where you sell all the antique stuff and all that. So he picked up the thing and he really liked it. He wanted to go and meet Dad, so he went to meet Dad and he said, I want to re-release this. And he went back to Germany, Holland or somewhere there. He re-released that new vinyl, and it's done so well. And probably if you go to Google and check, they have tried to change certain part of the history that actually acid house was started in India with my dad, Mr. Charanjit Singh, who's the pioneer of acid house music. Probably acid house came in 86 or 87 in the US or something like this. So I don't know the real authenticity of this, but I see some articles on Google saying that. So what I understand from this is just keep on doing things. You never know which particular project or which work of yours is going to get you what that project actually deserved. And my dad, for 4 years, was actually traveling all over the world as a one-man show. He was 70 years old. He was playing a one-man show. He was playing Indian Ragas. And the kids were dancing away to that. And I guess this 4 years, he freaked out.
That's got to be an amazing feeling to have some work that you do, you know, you thought you did okay with it, but then it gets this resurgence and it's way bigger than it originally was. That's got to be an amazing feeling. Yeah,
so now while he was here, we had created some parts for his next album and all that, and my son Joshua Singh, he's a drummer he is a songwriter. My dad, we all sat down together. My daughter's also a singer. She was studying in Berkeley also. Recently, she's still going back now. So she's also a songwriter, a singer. So we're thinking of putting up a tribute kind of an album for Dad's Charanjit Singh. Some ideas had been worked out by him with us. So we're thinking of doing that. And probably we'll be back onto your channel with that.
That would be great. That would be awesome. Yeah, I would love to hear that. That would be a really cool kind of story. Just in general, that's a cool story to have a nice little bow at the end of it that you guys had completed an album. That would be great. Well, thank you very much.
We are still working on that. Yeah.
Well, I keep in touch. I want to hear something when you guys get something going.
Yeah, sure, man. We'll be in touch and do this.
Well, thank you very much for joining me. And I've got links in the description to all of Raju's stuff, so check that out. I do want to say your website, rajusingh.com, beautiful website. It's a great website. I'm jealous. I want that website. It's a good website.
Thank you.
Go and check that out, and stay tuned. He's going to have something coming out, whether it be on TV or a movie or an album. You never know. He's popping all over the place. So stay tuned. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends, and we will see you on the next video.